If someone ever told you that you're too sensitive, they were actually revealing your greatest superpower without knowing it. Alan Watts discovered that what society calls weakness is actually the key to psychological mastery that most people will never possess. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your sensitivity isn't something to hide. It's something to weaponize. And the people who called you weak, they're about to seem very, very small. Maybe you've been told you're too emotional in relationships. Perhaps you've learned to numb yourself just to fit into a world that seems designed for thicker skin. Or maybe you're tired of feeling like you need to apologize for actually feeling things deep. This isn't just your struggle. Millions of highly sensitive people spend their lives believing they're broken, trying to become someone they're not. Society has taught us that sensitivity equals weakness, that feeling deeply is a liability. But what if I told you that Alan Watts, one of the most influential philosophers of the 20th century, proved the exact opposite? That your sensitivity isn't a bug in your system. It's the feature that gives you access to reality that others can't even perceive. Here's what's at stake. Every day you spend believing your sensitivity is weakness, you're literally suppressing your greatest advantage. You're like a master detective pretending to be blind, or a world-class musician playing with broken instruments. In the 1960s, Watts observed that Western culture had created what he called the cult of toughness, this obsession with emotional armor that was actually making people psychologically brittle. He saw that the people trying hardest to be invulnerable were the most easily broken. Today, psychology calls this emotional intelligence and sensory processing sensitivity. But Watts's approach goes deeper than contemporary therapy because he understood that sensitivity isn't just about feeling more. It's about perceiving reality more accurately. Watts's first insight was what he called the sensitivity paradox. Now, I know this sounds academic, but imagine your nervous system as a high-definition camera in a world of blurry phone cameras. Most people operate like those old security cameras from the 90s. They see basic shapes moving around, but miss all the crucial details. Your sensitivity is like having 8K resolution with perfect audio recording. You're not broken for seeing things others miss. You're actually seeing more of what's really there. Think about it like this. Imagine you're at a party and everyone else is wearing sunglasses indoors. They keep bumping into furniture, missing facial expressions, completely oblivious to the subtle dynamics happening around them. You're the only one with clear vision, but they keep telling you there's something wrong with your eyes because you can see things they can't. The person calling you too sensitive is like someone with hearing damage telling you that your perfect pitch is a disability. They've adapted to living in a muffled world and assume that's normal. I know this might be hard to accept if you've spent years believing your sensitivity was a flaw. Let me give you a moment to process this. Reflective pause. What Watts discovered is profound, and it's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about emotional strength. Are you ready for the next revelation? Here's what's happening in your relationships. You're like a sophisticated radar system trying to communicate with walkie-talkies. When you say, "I'm sensing tension," they hear, "I'm being dramatic." When you say, "Something feels off," they hear, "I'm being paranoid." But your radar is working perfectly. Their reception is just limited. This is especially true with narcissistic people. They're drawn to your high-definition perception because they need someone who can see them clearly. But then they resent you for that same clarity when it reveals their inconsistencies. Watts's second insight was about what happens when sensitive people try to build emotional armor. This is where most people get completely trapped. Imagine you're a deep-sea explorer, perfectly designed for underwater navigation. Your whole system, your flexibility, your sensitivity to pressure changes, your ability to flow with currents, that's your survival advantage. But then society tells you that real explorers wear heavy metal armor. So you strap on this medieval knight armor and jump in the water. What happens? You sink like a rock. The very thing that was supposed to protect you becomes the thing that drowns you. That's what happens when highly sensitive people try to toughen up. You're not built for armor. You're built for responsiveness. Your sensitivity is like being a dolphin trying to be a tank. The dolphin's power comes from its ability to read water currents, sense obstacles, communicate through sonar, and move with fluid grace. The tank just crashes through everything and calls it strength. Okay, I need you to stay with me here because what I'm about to share might be difficult to accept, but it's the key to your freedom. Here's the cruel irony. The people telling you to get thicker skin are often the most emotionally brittle. They're like concrete trying to survive an earthquake, while you're like bamboo that bends without breaking. They mistake rigidity for strength and flow for weakness. This explains why you might attract partners who seem emotionally stronger than you. They appear like solid ground when you feel like flowing water. But what's showed that this is backwards? They're actually brittle concrete, and you're the adaptable river that can carve through mountains over time. The armor trap is especially dangerous because it doesn't just hide your sensitivity, it suffocates it. You become like a master chef forced to cook while wearing oven mitts. You still have the skill, but you can't access it properly. Watts's third insight was about what he called the perception advantage, why sensitive people actually see reality more clearly than those who've numbed themselves. Think of sensitivity like having advanced military radar while everyone else is navigating by looking out the window on a foggy night. While others are flying blind through relationships and situations, you're picking up signals they can't even detect. You sense dishonesty before the first lie is told. You feel relationship tension before the first argument happens. You recognize behavioral patterns before they fully form. This isn't weakness. This is intelligence. You're not reading too much into things. You're reading accurately, while others are reading at a kindergarten level. This next part explains the most revolutionary aspect of sensitivity. Take a deep breath, because understanding this will change everything. Imagine you're in a room full of people wearing emotional masks. Everyone else is taking the masks at face value, having surface-level conversations, missing all the real communication happening underneath. But you can see through the masks. You can sense the actual emotions, the hidden fears, the unspoken needs. Most people call this overthinking because they literally can't think at that level. It's like having someone who can only see in black and white tell you that your color vision is seeing too much. Here's what neuroscience now confirms. Highly sensitive people process information more deeply, notice subtleties others miss, and have enhanced empathy circuits. Your brain literally has more active mirror neurons. You're not broken. You're neurologically designed for deeper perception. This is why small talk feels exhausting to you. It's like being a master pianist forced to play chopsticks all day. Your instrument is capable of symphonies, but society keeps asking for nursery rhymes. Watts' final insight was how to transform sensitivity from perceived weakness into actual power. This is where everything clicks into place. Imagine you're a perfectly tuned Stradivarius violin in a world of cheap plastic guitars. The plastic guitars make harsh noise and think that's music. They mock your delicate strings and precise tuning, calling you high maintenance and fragile. But when a master musician picks you up, magic happens. The same sensitivity that makes you difficult in rough hands becomes the source of breathtaking beauty in skilled hands. The difference isn't the instrument, it's understanding how to use precision as power. Now, I know this has been a lot to take in. Watts' insights can feel overwhelming at first because they're so much deeper than what we usually hear about sensitivity. But this depth is exactly what's going to set you free. Are you ready to learn how? Your sensitivity isn't about being fragile, it's about being precisely calibrated. When you stop apologizing for your precision and start using it strategically, you become unstoppable. Instead of hiding your sensitivity, you learn to weaponize it. You can sense exactly what's happening in a room before anyone else. You can predict how people will react to situations. You can understand the emotional undercurrents that others miss entirely. This isn't just empathy. This is emotional intelligence as a superpower. Think about it like this. You're like having emotional X-ray vision in a world of people squinting in the dark. They keep bumping into emotional walls that you can see coming from miles away. Here's something crucial that Watts understood. Narcissistic people are attracted to your sensitivity like moths to flame, but for a specific reason. They're emotionally colorblind, trying to navigate a colorful world. They need your emotional intelligence to function, but they resent your superiority in this area. It's like a tone-deaf person who needs you to tune their instrument, but then gets angry that you can hear notes they can't. They want your gifts, but hate feeling inferior to your abilities. Narcissists are like emotional vampires, but not in the way most people think. They don't just feed on your energy, they feed on your ability to feel accurately what they can't feel at all. You're like having perfect pitch in a relationship with someone who's completely tone deaf but pretends to be a musician. Step 1. Today, catch yourself every time you say, "Maybe I'm being too sensitive," or "I'm probably overthinking this." Replace it with, "My radar is working perfectly. What is it detecting?" When your gut tells you someone is lying during a conversation, instead of thinking, "Maybe I'm being paranoid," think, "My detection system is working." Write down what you sensed. Track how often you're right over the next week. You'll be shocked. The key is validation, not suppression. Don't try to turn off your sensitivity. Just stop treating it like a malfunction. You wouldn't tell a smoke detector to stop being so sensitive when there's actually smoke. Step 2. When someone says you're too sensitive, respond with, "I'm sensitive enough to notice things you might be missing." What specifically concerns you about accurate perception? If a partner dismisses your emotional needs with, "You're being dramatic," say, "I'm picking up on some disconnect between us that seems important. My sensitivity is telling me we need to address something. Can we explore this together?" You're not defending, you're leading with your strength. Practice this exact phrase. "My sensitivity is picking up something important here." Use it 3 times this week in different situations. Step 3. Start treating your sensitivity like a professional tool that needs proper maintenance. You wouldn't use a surgical scalpel to cut firewood, and you shouldn't use your emotional precision in situations designed for emotional bluntness. Before entering a crowded, chaotic environment, tell yourself, "I'm going to receive a lot of emotional data today. I'll process it strategically instead of being overwhelmed by it." Bring noise-cancelling headphones. Plan bathroom breaks every hour to reset your system. You're not being antisocial, you're maintaining your equipment. Create what I call sensitivity protocols: high stimulation environment, preparation and recovery time, emotionally intense conversation, grounding techniques before and after, dealing with emotionally unavailable people, shorter exposure times. Step 4. In your next difficult conversation, lead with your sensitivity superpower. Say, "I'm sensing some underlying tension that might be worth addressing. Should we talk about what's really happening here?" In a work meeting where everyone's pretending everything is fine but you sense conflict, be the person who says, "I'm picking up on some unspoken concerns in the room. Should we address them now, or would it be better to schedule a separate discussion?" You become the leader who sees what others miss. Most people are emotionally flying blind. You have radar. Use it to guide the conversation to where it actually needs to go. Step 5. Instead of apologizing for your emotional needs, start presenting them as valuable feedback for others. My sensitivity is telling me this interaction isn't working well for either of us. How should we adjust? If someone's communication style is harsh and they say, "Don't be so sensitive," respond with, "My sensitivity is giving us useful information about how this conversation is landing. If you want me to receive your message clearly, this approach isn't working. What matters more to you, being right about my sensitivity or being effective in your communication?" Step 6. Here's something crucial. Sensitive people often attract insensitive partners because they think they need someone stronger. But this is like a master chef partnering with someone who can't taste food. They can't appreciate your skills, so they can't support your growth. In dating, start saying things like, "I notice subtle emotional dynamics really clearly. I'm looking for someone who appreciates emotional intelligence rather than seeing it as a problem." You're filtering for sensitivity appreciation, not apologizing for. Start asking potential partners, how do you handle it when someone notices things about emotions or relationships that you might have missed? Their answer tells you everything about compatibility. Step 7. In work situations, reframe your sensitivity as attention to detail, stakeholder awareness, team dynamics insight, or risk assessment. These are leadership skills. In your next team meeting, say, "I'm noticing some dynamics that might affect our project success. Based on the energy in the room, I think we should address X before moving forward." You're not being too sensitive. You're providing strategic emotional intelligence. Practice saying, "My attention to interpersonal dynamics is telling me," instead of, "I feel like maybe." So what did Alan Watts teach us about sensitivity? 4 revolutionary insights. First, sensitivity isn't emotional weakness. It's perceptual accuracy. You're not broken for seeing what others miss. You're equipped with better emotional radar. Second, trying to build armor against your nature makes you weaker, not stronger. You're designed for flow, not rigidity. Third, your ability to feel deeply is actually your ability to see clearly, and that's a superpower most people don't possess. And fourth, the problem isn't your sensitivity, it's other people's emotional illiteracy trying to convince you that clear vision is blindness. This is why Watts's approach succeeds where conventional therapy often falls short. While traditional psychology tries to help you cope with being overly sensitive, Watts' philosophy shows you how to weaponize your sensitivity as advanced emotional intelligence. You don't need to be fixed, you need to be unleashed. When you apply Watts' insights to your daily life, you don't just stop apologizing for your sensitivity, you start leading with it. You move from seeing yourself as too much to recognizing yourself as exactly right for a world that desperately needs people who can actually feel and see clearly. The people who call you too sensitive are revealing their own emotional limitations, not yours. It's like someone who's colorblind insisting that you're seeing too many colors. If Alan Watts' insights into sensitivity as superpower resonated with you, subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our community of philosophical healers who are done apologizing for their depth. Tell me in the comments, which of Watts' insights hit you the hardest? That sensitivity is perceptual accuracy, that emotional armor makes you weaker, or that your depth is actually a superpower? And what aspect of transforming sensitivity into strength would you like me to explore next? Remember, in a world full of emotional static, your clarity isn't the problem, it's the solution.